All right. So let's quickly jump on data governance and GDPR. Then after that, we'll get back real quick. So let's start with data governance. You notice you can chat for a few minutes. So let's quickly talk about it. And all right, let's talk about this real quick, ladies and gentlemen. Remember yesterday I said one of the big slogan out there is data is the new oil, right? It's a big deal. So because of that, we can agree people take data serious. It's a full career, really, you know, because really it's money. It's really big deal. So because of that, there is a full-fledged industry, career path, profession around data, multiple. So it's a big deal, right? So we need governance around it in general. So we can agree. What is data governance? This is really a holistic overarching framework of policies, processes, standards, and practices that ensures effective management and control of data asset within your organization. That's really the core of it. Now, that also includes things like, okay, how do we define the roles and responsibility of who is in charge of those data, the quality of the data? We can agree your data is only as good as the quality, right? So if it's horrible data, the output will be horrible also. And of course, because we're now dealing with data, we have to think about data privacy and security, the security around the data, then also, very important, ensuring we align our data management with our business goals. However, we manage our data must be aligned with the goals of the business also. It's a big deal. So those are some general takeaway there. But let's get into the key. In data governance, you see things like data ownership. And one thing I'll tell you is that most people run from this responsibility, right? Because at the end of the day, we are saying assignment of those responsibility for data asset to individual or team within an organization. So you are giving somebody a full-fledged ownership of the data. So in data privacy, in data governance, you would hear data ownership. This is the person that owns the data, mostly a leader, senior management, or a manager. You would hear data steward. The steward will be the one operating, meaning the operational person executing what the owner actually wants you to do with the data in general. So they're accountable for the data quality, the security, and lifecycle management. So most people run from because really it's a responsibility. If I make you a data owner, it means you own it. It's easy to say, yeah, okay, everybody's doing their thing, but it gets tricky when you now say it's your thing. It's defined to you. This is your business now. People push back first, except there is a good incentive to be the data owner. Most times people would try to backtrack to be the owner. And the reason is simple. If I'm the owner, then I'm accountable. That's all. If there's any problem, the quality of data, issue with data, it's on me. So you can understand why people are a little bit hesitant, you know? So that's really some big deal, some good practice. We need to clearly define data ownership roles and responsibility within your data governance policy. So you need to be sure and give them very clear mandate on what their roles will be in general. Data quality, we can agree, like we said before, it's the quality of your data will determine, you know, how useful that data is. If you have a reputation of horrible data, you're going to lose business so quick. And if you guys remember last, I believe, early part of this year, ChatGPT came out with a lot of their enhanced model for 3.5, 4, then 4. Okay, fine. Google came up with their Google Bard before it became Gemini, right? And they were doing a live demo. They put some prompt and it was horrible. It gave them opposite to, what they actually requested in the prompt. So you can tell from that it's a quality issue. It means the model they used, information there was just bad. That's all. It's a bad model. The data quality was horrible. So, and that's what people have saying that, okay, sometimes if your data quality is bad, then the output will equally be bad. And that's why you see things like AI bias. So for example, if I prompt an AI and I put my picture in an AI and ask it to, show me. Then the next thing I have nothing in my head, and suddenly I see afro in my head, and I'm not dark skin, I'm white with beard. So you will know that okay, the model has not been trained to identify such a persona, right? So it's a data quality issue. It's data. Nothing. It's just strictly data. They've not had enough training data to reflect those certain demographic or people. That's all. Most of the time. So quality is a big one. So it means in data, also data governance, we're thinking about the quality check, and there should be a regular, consistent audit of the quality of your data. You know, um, it's not enough to have data. How good is the data? That's it. Your data is bad, your result will be likely bad. So, all right. Metadata management. Um, so this is another big one out there. This is really administration of data that describes other data. It provides context and improve the data usability. So we're talking about the way we tag data, the way we describe it, so that it's easy to use, the way we catalog the data, the way I kind of tag it and say, well, this data set is meant for our, administrators, for HR. You tagged it in a way that is easily used. So you metadata tag it. So you tag the data in a way that, you know, um, it can easily be used effectively and maintained. So those are the key things, and it helps the data owners to easily maintain their data. So that's a big one out there. So some people specialize in data quality, metadata management, and that's all they do. They just look at data, they try to tag them effectively. Now with AI tools out there today, there are a lot of tools that are doing metadata tagging, very effective. Um, For those of us that have YouTube channels, for example, in the past, we used to manually do a lot of tagging. There are tools now that can help you automatically put description, timestamp. You pay for those services, but there are tools that can help you make it more efficient now, which is pretty awesome. Data catalog, we can agree that at the end of the day, it makes sense to have a unified view of your organizational assets. So you want to make it searchable. Imagine if you have a catalog today, let's say, in the past, I'm not sure if they are so popular now. We used to have magazines that had catalogs for clothes, wedding gowns, and different things, right? And they would break it into different categories, depends on the outfit, the color, the style. So those are cataloging. And the same thing for us. Think about it like when you use your Google photo, you'll see its catalog. It will show you people, places, objects. So you can see its catalog so that it's easy to search, easy to use. And if it's a new data, it will pop up and let you know these are new additional data or pictures added to your Google Drive. So it's the same thing. It's just a way to catalog but these are big deal. Imagine if there was no cataloging, how confusing it would be. You know, um, Personally, I think I love Google Photos so much because you know, daily I see some memories that make you just chuckle, smile, just put a smile on your face. And you can put somebody's picture and it will search all the catalog about, their faces and past pictures or information or location. It's just amazing, really good. So cataloging is very effective for most organizations also. Data lifecycle management. So we're talking about, think about it at the end of the day. If you create a data or when you create a data, at the end of the day, there should be a life cycle in terms of how do we eventually delete this data at some point or retain this data, and how long should we retain the data? Example, in the world of clinical research, for example, when you do a trial, after the trial ends, let's say FDA approves it or does not approve it, the subject or patient's record will still be kept, typically 5 years, sometimes more, depending on the study. So let's say 5 years, you archive it. So after 5 years, you're required by law keep the data, let's say 5 years, for example. Then after that, you can decide to, you know, dispose of it. You figure out what's the standard operating procedure for deletion or cleansing of those data. You follow it. But the point is that at the end of the day, there should be a process to eventually delete or, archive those data. Policies and procedure, we can agree at the minimum. Definitely, there should be policies and procedure around data governance for every organization. So it's the bedrock, the foundation. They should have clear, well written policies, procedure, and those policies and procedure should be reviewed regularly, typically yearly, except there's a major change, then they could do it as needed. Compliance, it's not optional. There should be regular audit, assessment that needs to be done all the time. Today we'll do some. Data access control, we are saying at the end of the day, yes, we are talking about quality of the data, metadata, but also access to those data. What's the process around access control? I think this is going to be applicable to everything. It doesn't matter the data type. Do we have a role-based access? Do we have principle of least privilege? Even multi-factor authentication can come in later. But we need to understand access control for the data also. Data security is a big one also. Today we'll touch data security briefly. And this is also important because at the end of the day, we have to say, okay, what is the security around the data? It's not enough to tell me, all right, we have this data. Yes, what's the security around it? We can agree for the security side, definitely access control will come in, right? Definitely we have to think about encryption because now we are talking about think like if I'm sending you a data through email, one, am I supposed to have access to the data? So access control. Two, when you transmit the data, are we sure it's encrypted? Nobody is trying to steal it in the middle, man in the middle attack, right? I'm thinking in my head, okay, those are things in my head I'm thinking. Are we implementing role-based access? So security is very paramount in my head as I'm thinking about it, you know. Compliance monitoring, remember again, if there's a breach, is there a way to monitor and make sure we rectify the breach in our environment? Big deal. So GDPR is a good example. We have to make sure we are monitoring because any little violation of the regulation can really put us in a very awkward situation. Training and awareness, there's no substitute to this. We need to constantly train employees, users in our organization to understand the implication of violating some of these compliance issues. Maturity assessment, I think that's what we're doing today, which is cool. You can see that there's always a need to, as a best practice, to do maturity assessment. What you're doing is to check how is our data governance program? How is it? Where do we stand? What can we do better in general? So this is a good one. Some key players, I just sneaked in some key players for you to know in that space. They have the Data Governance Council. Like I said, anything data governance is a full-fledged career of its own. You can see the data stewards, they're actually the ones, making sure they maintain the quality, they're doing the execution work. The owners, they are responsible at the end of the day. Custodian, at the end of the day, they manage all the technical aspects of the data storage. We have chief data officer. Not every organization would have these titles, but most big organizations would have some measure of equivalence of this title. But anyway, just something to know. And that's really the gist around the concept of data governance in general.